Hi everyone, it's Kelly here. Welcome to my channel if this is your first time. Welcome back if you've been before. Lovely to have you either way. On this channel we talk books and today we are talking the Stella Prize. I am currently sitting at my table with my dinner and my iPad waiting for the live stream. It's on. It's saying starting soon, but I don't know what time it's actually going to be starting. But I thought I would film my reaction to the announcement of the long list for the Stella Prize in 2026. So for those who don't know, the Stella Prize is an Australian writing prize, and it is for women and non-binary writers. It's a little bit like the Women's Prize, except that there are more categories of books that are eligible. So, for example, it isn't just novels, it is non-fiction as well, it is poetry, short stories are eligible. So there's lots and lots of different types of books that sometimes turn up in these prizes. So yeah, anyway, I'm quite excited. So it is currently 6:35 p.m. And it's Wednesday the 11th. And as I said, waiting. So I don't know if, I think what I'm going to do is, once this starts, I will turn the camera back on. I'm not going to just sit here and wait with you for the entire time. But when it starts again, I will start the camera back up and I'll do my live reaction to the long list and then take a pause, talk about the books that come up. I'm so excited. It's like Christmas. Alright, I will see you soon in the next clip.
Stellar announcement. Please find a seat if there is
happening.
One. Fill up your
We
glasses,
now have
bring them to the chairs
visual
if you would like. And we'll be starting in just a minute or so.
A minute or so. Okay. Be back soon. So before it starts, I just wanted to say the one book that I'm hoping, I don't even know 100% that it's eligible, but I'm hoping that Wait Here, by Lucy, oh my gosh, what is her name? Lucy, let me look it up. This is how you can tell that this is happening live, is because I was not organised and I did not look it up. Wait Here. Lucy Nelson, which was is a short story collection, and I read it last year. It was my best book of the year. I'm pretty sure it was published in 2025, so I think it will be within the window to be eligible. So hopefully that will be on the list. And I'm wondering if Wild Dark Shore, which was also on the Women's Prize list, I've got it right here because I'm planning on reading it shortly. Just move those back out of the way. Let me have a look at my copy of Wild Dark Shore to see if... Yeah, it also was 2025. So,
Hello everyone.
Whoop, it's happening. But potentially there's speeches, etc. Okay, I'll pause. I'll come back shortly. Okay, so we are still having speeches. So it is, we first heard from the director, CEO of the Stella Foundation, and now we're hearing from one of the commercial partners of the prize, which is Quest Apartment Hotels. So it's coming, but I'm still waiting. So I finished my dinner. That's good. I've got my notepad ready with my pen so that I can note everything down as quickly as possible. But yeah, I don't know what's going to be on this list. I'm so excited. Be back shortly. So we're just being introduced to the judges now, who are going to talk about the books. And they've just turning the volume down. They flagged that it's going to be a 35-minute conversation, so I don't know how they're going to do it, whether they're just going to say all the books and then talk about them individually, or if they're going to do it one by one. So we might have like a bit of a lag between finding out what all of the books are. So we'll report back shortly. It's happening. Let's do it.
For us. So it's my great pleasure to introduce the first of the long list of books by Eunice, Andrada, a book of poems, KONTRA.
Poetry, you like it?
It's a great
Okay,
surprise.
so they're going to talk about
Anyone who loves poetry will love this book because Eunice is working with a speaking.
Congratulations to Evelyn Araluen for
Hey.
the role.
I've read that one. Evelyn Araluen, what?
And our next long-listed book is Memorial Days by Geraldine Brooks.
Okay, I haven't read Memorial Days by Geraldine Brooks, but it's on
I
my
do expect to have to tell you about your
TBR.
book with you looking so closely at me, Geraldine, but I'll do my best.
Congratulations to Debra Dank for Ankami.
I also own that one. So exciting! I'm so excited to read that. Ankami is also a book I already own.
Our next long-listed title is Fireweather by Miranda, darling.
Okay. Interesting that that's a second book from in a series, I guess.
The next long-listed book is Apron-Sorrow Sovereignty by Natalie Harkin.
I don't know that one. So far, two I've never heard of. Very exciting.
The next long-listed book is Canon by Lee Lai.
Ooh, I don't know this one either.
Those of you who know that Australia boasts some of the most incredibly talented graphic novelists.
Ooh,
And
this
Lee
is a
Lai
graphic
is one of
novel.
our, and
Oh,
indeed
I know
the
Lee
world's
Lai.
best. Lee's latest work,
I
Canon,
think.
the follow-up to the Stella shortlisted Stone Fruit, tells the story
Stella
of
Prize.
Canon, real name,
Exciting to have a graphic novel.
The next shortlisted book is Wild Duck Shore by Charlotte.
Hey! Hey! So exciting.
Congratulations, Charlotte McConaghy.
Very excited to see that one on the list.
Our next shortlisted title is Wait Here by
Yes!
Nancy Nelson. Short stories, guys. The glistening stories in this debut collection ask questions of mothering and its absence, of how we might shape
So
a family
excited.
and build a life.
Already,
What
that's
is
my front
common
runner.
to the women in these stories is
I'm so excited that made it. That was my one wish.
The next book in our deadly long list is Find Me at the Jaffa Gate, and it's I couldn't get the full title out. It was so Find Me at the Jaffa Gate, an encyclopedia of a Palestinian family by Micaela, Sahhar.
yay.
I don't know that one. Find Me at the Jaffa Gate by Micaela Sahhar.
The next book on the Stella long list is 58 Facets on Violence and the Law by Marika Sosnowski.
Yay.
I don't know that one either. That one sounds really fascinating.
And the final book on the 12 long-listed titles is Tasma Walton's I Am Nannertgarrook.
I really want to read that one too.
Congratulations, Tasma.
I'm so excited for that one too. Okay. Let me gather my thoughts and I'll come back and let's talk about the books. Okay. Let's talk about the books. I'm so excited for this long list. Partly because it contains two books I've already read, and a whole bunch of other ones that I already own copies of and am excited to read. And then also there's a bunch of other ones that I hadn't heard of before that I'm also excited about. So let's go through them now and find out a little bit more about the books. So the first one listed was KONTRA by Eunice Andrada, which is a poetry collection. Are these clickable links? Oh, they are. It is. Okay. So it's published by Giramondo Publishing, which they do fantastic books. Giramondo, I've read quite a few of theirs. So it says, in KONTRA, a collection by the multi-award-winning Filipina-Australian poet Eunice Andrada, characters reckon with the constraints of the past in order to claim a future of their own making. KONTRA enacts a poetics of clashing decadences, testing the tightrope between feminine goodness and deviance, desire and refusal, reverence and repulsion. It casts a female gaze on the Contrabida, a Filipina soap opera villain stuck in a rise and fall cycle. The poet reimagines the Contrabida as a figure driven not by revenge, but by wild desire. Oscillating in and out of character, Andrada navigates the tension between poet and persona. Alongside the shape-shifting spectral force of the Contrabida, the poet invokes a chorus of voices to trace a lineage of opposition and the alternate futures it holds. I'm always excited for a poetry collection, so I'm always very excited to see one there. Another poetry collection was the second book, when this is one of the ones that I've read, which is called The Rot by Evelyn Araluen. This is fierce, absolutely fierce, and it does not hold back. When I read this one, I didn't engage with it to the same degree, I didn't connect with it to the same degree as her previous book, which has won the Stella Prize, called Drop Bear. That poetry collection was absolutely brilliant. This one is very good, but it didn't quite grab me in quite the same way as Drop Bear. But I think it's great, and I'm really pleased that it's on the list. I'm very, very excited to have read two of them. Very exciting. The next one on the list is Memorial Days, which is another one I have a copy of, and is on my TBR, obviously, and one that I'm excited to read. This is by Geraldine Brooks, and yeah, I'm very excited about this. This is about her husband passing away, in the middle of, he was an author, and he passed away during a book tour. So he was away from home, and then it sort of goes into, obviously, the grief side of things, I believe, but also looking at the absolute practicalities that you have to deal with in those circumstances. And yeah, so then she's sort of talking about grief, talking about what happens when somebody dies, that your husband, your partner. I can't wait to read this. I'm very excited for it, so I'm really glad that it's on the list. Now, for some reason, I could not find my copy of Ankami by Debra Dank. I definitely have one, so my guess is I have loaned it to my mum, saying to her, you read it, I'll get to it after you're finished with it. But I'm potentially that's where it is. Possible, hopefully. Because I definitely purchased a copy of Ankami. Anyway, excited about that. But the book I have read from Debra Dank is We Come With This Place. This was on the long list or short list of the Stella Prize a couple of years ago, and I read it back then and absolutely fell in love with it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and I got her to sign it for me. I saw her speak at the South Coast Readers and Writers Festival last year, which is also where I met Lucy Nelson, who wrote Wait Here. So yeah, I'm so thrilled that her book Ankami is on the list. Ankami is about her exploring the archives to look for information and evidence of people in her family, and she sort of brings those people to life, sort of creates a more 3D image of them for herself, rather than the sort of very flat historical records that she was able to find. So yeah, anyway, that's another one I'm very excited to read. I will happily read anything by Debra Dank. So yeah, very pleased that that's on the list, and hopefully I can find my copy of it. The next one on the list is Fireweather by Miranda Darling. I don't have a copy of that one, but I am aware of it, and that's because I own this book, Thunderhead by Miranda Darling, that I have not yet gotten around to reading, which I obviously should, because from what they were saying in the live, this Fireweather follows on from this one. The main character is the same main character, so I feel like I should read this one first. I don't know how I feel about having a follow-up book, or, you know, second book in a series. I don't know if this is strictly a series, but they did say it's the same main character, so that kind of feels like a series to me. And I'm not sure how I feel about having the second book in the series be on a list, but it must be good if they've included it there. So I will get to this one hopefully soon. It's not long. It's less than 200 pages long, so it's definitely readable. So let's get to that one, so then we can get to Fireweather when we're ready. The next one was one I had never heard of, and it's called Apron-Sorrow, Sovereign Tea by Natalie Harkin, which is a non-fiction. So let's find out about that one, because it's one I didn't know that much about. So it says, she lingers in archives. Her trace is my memory. We labour, dig, sweat, blister, imagine. Know them more intimately. So much work to be done to clean up this colonial mess. Apron-Sorrow, Sovereign Tea evokes an embodied reckoning with Aboriginal women's domestic labour and servitude, drawing from oral history and the state's official record. It explores the complexity of Aboriginal women's experiences and survival strategies, and intergenerational stories that span loss, love, sorrow, solidarity, resistance, and refusal. That sounds amazing, so I'm very keen to get my hands on a copy of that one. The next one was a graphic novel, so it's very exciting, and this is what I was saying before the broadcast started properly, that this prize encompasses a lot of different types of books. So obviously we've already had poetry, we've had a non-fiction memoir, two non-fiction memoirs, sorry, we've had fiction, and another non-fiction, now we're having a graphic novel. So yeah, so exciting. This is Canon by Lee Lai. We arrive to wreckage, a restaurant smashed to rubble with tables and chairs upended riotously. Under the swampy nighttime cover of a Montreal heatwave, we meet our protagonist, Canon, dripping in beads of regret sweat. She was supposed to be closing the restaurant for the night, but instead she destroyed it. The horrorscape left in her wake is not unlike the films Canon and her best friend Trish watched together. Cooking dinner and digging into deep cuts of Australian horror movies on their scheduled weekly hangs has become the glue in their relationship. In high school, they were each other's lifeline, two queer second-generation Chinese nerds trapped in the suburbs. Now, on the uncool side of their 20s, the essentialness of one another feels harder to pin down. Yet when our stoic and unbendingly well-behaved Canon finds herself very uncharacteristically surrounded by smashed plates, it is Trish who shows up to pull her out. So this is actually also a follow-up, because the previous book, Stone Fruit, was also longlisted for the Stella Prize a couple of years ago. I didn't read that one, so maybe I need to get a copy of that too before I read Canon. But yeah, that's exciting that we have a graphic novel on the list. Alright, let's have a look at the next one. This is the one that I also was hoping was going to be on there, Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. This was also longlisted for the Women's Prize, which was just announced last week. So yeah, obviously I'm going to read this for sure. It's been sitting on my shelf for such a long time, so I'm really excited that I have more and more reasons to read it. So I'm thinking that this is one I'm going to read next month. So yeah, super excited. If you don't know about Wild Dark Shore, I don't know where you've been, because everybody is talking about it right now. But basically we have a man and his 3 children who are caretakers on a very small island called Shearwater, which is close to Antarctica, and it is home to the world's largest seed bank. But we're talking here about rising sea levels, we're talking about climate change. But what happens is, so all of the other people who were on the island before have all left now, and then there's a really bad storm and a woman mysteriously washes ashore. And this goes from to different perspectives. So we hear from the different people, the father, the children, and I believe the woman as well. And yeah, this is apparently quite thrilling. So I'm really excited that it's on this list and that I am going to definitely for sure read it. And then my favourite book of last year. I'm so excited that it's here on the list. Wait Here by Lucy Nelson. This was absolutely brilliant. It's a short story collection, and the thematic link between the stories is that it's about women who don't have children. Sometimes that's by their choice, sometimes not. Sometimes it's really central to the story, sometimes it isn't. But I don't even think it matters. The thread doesn't even really matter because these short stories are so brilliant. This is the peak of the form, in my opinion, of short story writing, because I read the first short story and I started reading. I was like, okay. By the end of that first story, I was almost in tears because I felt so, and I'd sort of forgotten the beginning part of the story that was sort of talking about what was going to be happening, and then it came and I was devastated. I was like, okay, okay, this woman is excellent at her craft of short story writing, because within such a short amount of space she made me care about these characters so much. And I didn't connect necessarily with every story to that same degree, but there weren't any dud stories, there weren't any bad stories in this collection. Every single story was good. Some of them I connected with more than others, but I just thought it was absolutely fantastic. 5 stars. You need to read this book. It is amazing. So hopefully you can get yourself a copy of it or find it somewhere to read, because I think it is absolutely brilliant. The next book on the list is one I hadn't heard about. It's called Find Me at the Jaffa Gate, an Encyclopaedia of a Palestinian Family by Micaela Sahhar. This is again a non-fiction memoir, and let's find out about this one. It says, "If we were different people, to write down these words might be to leave them behind us. But our words are our artifacts, and I am seeding a trail for the journey home." Wow. What does the daughter of a Nakba survivor inherit? It is not property or tangible heirlooms, nor the streets and neighbourhoods of a father's childhood and the deep roots of family who have lived in one place, Jerusalem, for generation upon generation. Fixing her gaze on moments, places, and objects, from the streets of Bethlehem to the Palestinian neighbourhoods of the New Jerusalem, Micaela Sahhar assembles a story of Palestinian diaspora. Find Me at the Jaffa Gate is a book about the gaps and blank spaces that cannot be easily recounted, but which insists on the vibrant reality of chance, fragments, and memory to reclaim a place called home. That sounds brilliant. I'm excited about that. The next one is also one that sounded really interesting from the broadcast. It's called 58 Facets on Violence and the Law by Marika Sosnowski. This one is a non-fiction, and it's about violence and the law. It says, "A poetic and precise meditation on resistance and revolution, and how we create a story we can live with in their aftermath. When you have been forcibly displaced from your home, the revolutionary dream of what should have happened stays alive as a utopian beacon of happiness that will possibly never come to pass. To be content and to make a meaningful life from the ruins of that wrenching and uprooting is a small everyday miracle that others easily overlook. 58 Facets is like a beautifully cut jewel, the kind that Marika Sosnowski's grandfather would have bought, cut and sold after he arrived in Melbourne in 1947, having passed through a checkpoint minutes ahead of Nazi occupiers, via a Japanese internment camp in Jaffa and a migrant accommodation camp just outside of Brisbane. If you hold it up to the light, you will catch different stories in each of its many facets. You will have the table, the bezel, bezel, the star and the upper girdle, the lower girdle, the pavilion, and the coulette. You will have the dreams, the checkpoints, the documents, the bribes, the camps, the occupation, and the resistance. Part memoir, part expose, 58 Facets weaves together the narratives of Holocaust survivors and Israeli war criminals with Syrian activists, revolutionaries, and dissenters. It challenges us to go beyond the links we see in our lives to our felt experience of the law, violence, and revolution, and how these experiences travel across bodies, space, and time. That sounds really interesting as well, so I'm glad that that one's on the list too. That's one I hadn't heard of, so I'll definitely keep an eye out for that one. And the last book on the list is I can never say this, I apologise if I'm saying it wrong, Nannertgarrook by Tasma Walton. This is a novel, a fiction novel, and it's not one I have a physical copy of, but I think I have a digital copy of it, and I am keen to get myself a physical copy of it as well. So this is a book that's based on the true story of Tasma Walton's ancestor, a powerful, heart-wrenching novel about maternal love that endures against pitiless odds. Kidnapped by sealers and enslaved far from her homeland, Nannertgarrook has a spirit that refuses to bow. From her idyllic life in sea country in Nerm, Port Phillip Bay, Victoria, Nannertgarrook is abducted and taken to a slave market, leaving behind a husband, daughter, and son. Pregnant when seized, she soon gives birth to another son, whom she raises with the children of her fellow captives. Nannertgarrook is separated not only from her Boonwurrung family, but from her birthright, the ceremony she once was so joyously part of, the majestic whales who are her totem, the land and sky and sea country and its creatures. All these things she loves as deeply as she does her blood kin. But now, as her reality becomes profoundly different, she must keep that family and her old life alive in her mind. Their rich, pulsating elements sing to us through her beautiful voice, even while Nannertgarrook herself is subjected to the worst of humanity. This sweeping novel asks us to consider who, in colonial history, were the real savages and what it truly means to be civilized. I'm so excited for that book. It's one that I've been really excited to read, so I'm so glad to have a push to get to it, because it is one that I really, really want to read. So yeah, those are the 12 books. I'm so excited. So pleased that Wait Here is on the list. My front runner. But we'll see what happens when I read the other books, because maybe some of those will also be books that I'm really, really thrilled about, and ones that maybe I think are even better than Wait Here. We'll see. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. It's been a little bit chaotic, but hopefully it's all made sense, and I am so excited for the Stella Prize. I have to say it's my favourite prize to read each year, and I'm hoping that I can read every single one of these books, and if I do, I will let you know about it. But yeah, even if I don't get to all of them, you can be watching my reviews as I give you my monthly wrap-ups, and yeah, we'll see what we think of all of these books. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.